welcome to New World Aeternum Weekly, episode 30. Is New World dead? Question mark, May 15th, 2022. I was telling Suv earlier, we were discussing earlier about the, there's a old journalism law. I forget what it's called. It's like Coughlin's Law or Colligan's Law or something, where it basically says, anytime you have a bold-face headline with a question mark, the answer is always, no, it's not. It's no, it's clickbaity, whatever. I'm guilty. Yes, I am. We're going to have a discussion, and we're going to explain to you why you need to know the information you need to know, so that, because I hear this everywhere, all over the place. New World is dead, dead game, lol, dead game, keck, whatever. And it's like, okay. A lot of those statements are based on observations that are several months old, and a lot of that was quite rightly and justifiably people that were frustrated about some problems with regard to New World, and those are some people that might not know that those problems have been solved. I want to give a huge shout out at the top of the show to New Soul, my good friends Fist to Face and Pops in Space, who created that intro jingle for us. We played for the intro and outro of the show. Love you guys. You're the best. All the Soul Citizen community guys are the best. And gals, of course. When I say guys, I mean that unisex. It is what it is. With us tonight, we've got, of course, my second in command, WOLFDRAGON. Say hello to the beautiful people, Wolf. Oh, by the way, I'm drinking a Schofferhofer Hefeweizen with pomegranate, and it's fucking delicious. Say hello to the beautiful people, Wolf, and tell them what you're drinking.
Hello, everyone. Glad you're joining us today. I steer clear of Hefeweizens. They don't do it for me, but I do have a Saison here from Aleworks, and it is delicious, just like all Saisons are. I don't know what it is, but I just like them.
Nice. It's legit. Saison sounds like a work of art. There might be. I think if I was a painter, I would take up that name. Sounds good. Sounds good. Do you guys? Side note: do you guys remember there was the episode of Friends where Joey was going to get his stage name with the Screen Actors Guild, and he's like, Tribbiani, it doesn't, it doesn't have enough whatever. And Chandler goes, well, how about Joey Mussolini? And Joey's like, Joey Mussolini, it's good. I like it. I think I'm going to go for that one. And he's like, or maybe you could try Joseph. Yeah. Spoiler alert. Joey comes up later and he's like, turns out there was already a Joseph Mussolini, and he was like a real asshole or something. So yeah. This has been your moment of Friends. Beautiful. Sword, say hello to the beautiful people and tell them what you're drinking.
Hello, y'all from the West Coast. I am drinking something rather tame today. It's a blackberry. Oh, what is the name of this thing? I have to look on the can again.
The little fizzy water
yeah,
stuff?
Bubbly. There we are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Blackberry bubbly. And if you hear some thunder in the background, Thor's mad at us for some reason. Don't ask me why.
Yeah, that doesn't sound at all tame. That sounds very nice. It sounds like a walk on the wild side. I dig it. Blackberry. That's good shit. And we've got from beautiful downtown Phnom Penh, we got SOUVARINE in the house. Say hello to the beautiful people, Suv. And it's like 2 a.m., so you definitely have good reason to have a drink in front of you. What you got?
It's literally 2 a.m. and I'm not drinking anything actually, except the salty tears of people taken in by our clickbaity title.
Salty tears. Yes. Well, we've got more salt news for you coming up, so yes, for sure. All right, let's start with a real brief. What have we been up to this week? I think we're continuing to see more people come up through the ranks and get their gear and get set up and, hit 60, and we're bringing them through dungeons. We've got now multiple teams of people that can go through, and it's getting more and more where, myself or Sword or Bio or Sin, and even starting to be like Wolf, we'll sort of sit out and let some of the other people come through to get stuff because we're pretty much tricked out on gear. And it's nice seeing people come through, get their stuff, get their successes, and like go from being like a hard carry when they first start, and it's like, okay, we're four of us pulling them through something, to where now they are watching their gear scores shoot up and getting their stuff sorted and zeroing in on a good build with a weapon they like, and they are, you know, productive. Just this week, we got Brittany geared out with a full set of Void Bent. She did a lot of gathering and collecting and work and getting all this stuff together to make it happen, and you know, I made it for her. And she's been kicking ass. She's been, her survivability has gone up by a ton, but also now that she's in a full Void Bent set for the con, she's got, I think, like every last point into int, and she is just murking fools with that flamethrower. She's enjoying, I think right now, she's been popping around, but I think right now she's enjoying a Fire Staff Ice Gauntlet build. But I know she's a big fan of the Void Gauntlet, so we're going to have to see where she lands. But it's nice. And just earlier this week, we had a guy come in, brand new to the game, said, hey, I like some games, you know, whatever. I bounced off of Empyrean. It was a little too spacey. I'm looking for something a little more fantasy-ish, whatever. And Chaos, you know, talked to him a good bit, and people were answering questions, and we got him in and got him started. And yeah, it's good to see more new people coming to the game. Dead game, Keck. But yeah, that's been my week. It's been really, really good. Wolf, how about yours?
I've been having a lot of fun just helping around with filling out the teams whenever people need to do a run. I've been doing a lot of crafting.
Right.
Looking forward to a few of the crafting changes supposed to come up to make a few things easier because, oh boy, is getting arcana and jewelry up just, ugh.
Fun. Sword, how about you?
I've been doing well. I finally got my main light PvP and open world set all the way up to 625, and now I'm working on a tank, and I've started working on a heavy int build. I also think, if my recollection is correct, that I played more dungeons this week as a tank than I did as a DPS, which is a first for me.
Yeah.
And on the more embarrassing side, I'm kind of overestimated my capacity to carry things, and I am now walking back to Monarch's Bluff over encumbered.
You're doing that slow waddle, like you shit yourself, and now you're just walking back in shame.
Yes.
I got you. That's a lovely image. All right. I want to throw out a quick hello and shout out and love to everybody in the chat. Of course, we've got Shadow Wyvern, we've got Chaos, we've got, I'm looking through, Soul Ripper. Everybody in the chat, I want to say hello, and it's great to have you here with us. And I hope that you are having fun in New World. All right, we've gone around what's everybody been up to, so let's get to the agenda. First off the bat, we've got patch note 1.4.5 went live May the 11th. They dropped the patch notes Sunday night, May the 10th. They dropped the patch itself May the 11th. This is a very, very brief. Now, this is not the long patch. The long patch is the stuff that they're doing on the public test realm. This is just a little weekly maintenance update of, hey, these are a couple things that are being fixed, and they're fixed live in-game now, no waiting. These are always like 5-6 things and move along. So they fixed some issues in group mode where the healing stuff was getting borked if like somebody left the group or somebody died or somebody like got kicked offline for a minute and then reloaded. It would move around all of the healing stuff. So that's just a nice little quality of life fix. They fixed some stuff that were like bugs and issues with region transfers and with people dying and getting like stuck where they couldn't get back into the login screen. They had to like close out the game and come back. They have a couple of fix on weird respawns and stuff in wars. The main issue of this patch that is live already is they did a massive rework to the Great Axe Insatiable Gravity Well perk. Now, for those of you who don't know, we're not a Great Axe player, Insatiable Gravity Well is far and away the strongest perk that Great Axe has, period. It is
In the game.
It is a perk that, well, arguably, it's one of the top 5 strongest perks in the game, but it is the strongest perk that Gravity Well has, and it is a perk that goes on to the strongest ability that Great Axe has, which is Gravity Well. So let's go through this real quick. They fixed an issue with the perk where it hit enemies around the player twice instead of once on use. They reduced the weapon damage, so that was completely unintended. That was just a whoops. This was a bug that was causing this perk to be better than it was supposed to be. In addition, they reduced the weapon damage on the secondary burst from 125% to 100%. Now, that's not a bug. That is they made a balanced decision to weaken it a little. Another balanced decision to weaken it a little is reduce the block stamina damage of the secondary burst from 150 to 70%. That's less than half of a player's base stamina damage. They reduced the lifesteal amount based on the gear score from the initial range of 20 to 50% down to a range between 15 and 35%. That is massive. Now, look, this isn't going to fix the fact overnight by itself that bruiser builds are crazy strong right now. I don't think that this is going to necessarily invalidate Great Axe as one of the best weapons in the game for mano-a-mano combat, but it definitely is going to put some other arguments on the table. This doesn't make Great Axe weak, but this definitely puts a huge question mark on anybody being able to say that this is best, that this is the best thing that you could take. I think this is very, very strong. As a Great Axe user, I know that this is going to make other Great Axe users salty as fuck, but I gotta say, I think this was a necessary change. I think I probably would have liked seeing that reduced lifesteal amount left off. I would have liked it to stay at the 20 to 50% for the perk based on the reduced weapon damage, but they're not afraid to get in here and mix it up and try things. And we've seen the Great Axe perks, specifically Gravity Well, we've seen it modified, 4 times in the last 6 patches. So if it's too strong of a nerf, I'm confident that they'll go back and maybe adjust a little bit. This, whatever. Let's go around the panel. What do you guys think of this little small update patch? And more specifically, let's be honest, the biggest thing in here, other than some fixes, is this Gravity Well adjustment. What do you guys think?
So I'll start off. My primary build is the whole DPS bruiser thing. I'm usually running around with either the Great Axe and something else, or the hammer and something else, depending on what the fight is and whatnot. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I love it when they mix up the meta. It keeps things from getting boring. It constantly causes you to go back and reevaluate things. And it gives you a thing to go get if you need to change your shit later. So it keeps the replay value up.
Sword?
I definitely think these changes are needed. I'm not sure it's going to reduce the potency of the Great Axe down to the level of a lot of the other weapons that you would expect to be next to it.
Interesting.
I definitely think we're on the way, but the problem with the Great Axe, and this is also an issue with the hammer and sword and shield, is their potency not only in single target combat, but the fact that almost all of their attacks are AoE abilities. You're swinging a big hammer or a big axe or a sword around, meaning you're fighting large groups, and their abilities reflect that.
So,
And I'm not sure how, and again, I can't really think of the best way to balance it where you don't have something that's adequate in your big groups where you're fighting other big groups versus your single target damage, such as the spear or rapier.
interesting. So where I'm concerned that they might have gone just a smidge too far, you're concerned that they might have not quite gone far enough. That's interesting. Or I don't want to put words in your mouth. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think it's a fair assessment, but it comes more along the lines. I think we are starting to get closer and closer to the point where balance it needs to be less hammery and more fine tuning, especially given the intricacies of the different types of weapons they're working with.
I think we're going to see a lot of that coming up when the 3v3 arena drops. I think this is the absolute perfect platform for them to really drill down on the finer points of weapon balancing and make like live adjustments on an ongoing basis here and there as metas continue to sort of evolve. So, Suv, what do you think?
We have a lot on this, to be honest. I'm not a great X user. I think ever since the game has existed, the majority of PvP players that I see use Great Axe or Hammer.
Can I ask you real quick, Suv, just to get just a little closer to the mic? I got you boosted by a lot, but you are about 1/3 of the volume you were in the sound check.
Nothing's changed. Nothing has changed.
Okay.
How's that? I've moved it slightly closer to my
Much better. Much better.
Weird. I was just saying, since launch, most PvP players that I see, most flagged players, use Great Axe or Hammer. And there are loads and loads of weapon combinations that seem underrepresented, like, anecdotally.
Mm-hmm.
That's my experience. I don't have any data for that. So I think that any efforts to incentivize players to broaden the range of weapons they use has not been successful. In the month I took away from the game, when I left, most people seemed to preference Great Axe or Hammer for PvP, and when I came back, nothing seemed to have changed.
Okay.
But that's just my impression, and I could be completely wrong. So anything that increases the diversity of builds used is a good thing in my view.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody who's watching live right now in the chat, both on Twitch and in YouTube, there's the link to the actual article for patch 1.4.5, which went live on Monday. Check it out for yourself. All right, next up, we've got Arena 2022 PTR Update 3 notes. Guys, I get it. That is a unwieldy as fuck name. I literally copied and pasted the exact name from them. I don't know. The naming convention, I would really love to see. I would love them to, number one, give each of these monthly patches, because Arena 2022 patch is a very unwieldy name. I would love them to give all of these updates a really cool little name. For the March update, we got, the Tempest Heart update. It's a great name. It fit with the whatever. I think I would encourage them to come up with a cool naming scheme for all of their monthly patches, because they seem a little inconsistent at this point. One of them sounds like the name of a blockbuster movie that you're like, yeah, let's go. And then the next one is Arena 2022 PTR Update 3. And you're like, this sounds like a PowerPoint presentation that no one wants to see. Please.
Agreed.
Please, something zippy, something with some zing. All right, so
Don't remind me of what I've got in store for me on Monday.
yeah, well, Monday will never come. The weekend lasts forever. All right, so number one, they rotated the people on the PTR up from 600 gear to 625 gear score. They always do this middle of the month. They say, we're going to give you the first couple of weeks to try this stuff at the 600 gear score stuff, and then the last 2 weeks we'll give you 625 and see what you do with things. They've made some changes to Outpost Rush. When you open up Outpost Rush loot bags and you do not collect the contents, it will not be destroyed. So for some reason, if you click on the thing and you want to take the Brute token, but you want to leave the Azoth or whatever, it's still there for other people to grab. PvP Arena notes. The scoreboard should now show the scores for this current match only. Good fix, all right. This is huge. Added honing stones to the arena consumable list. Fucking amazing. As we discussed about last week, they need to remove all benefits from the people that aren't in the arena, like that came in with stuff. Any benefits that are not derived from the arena. Let's see if I can say that better. Such that everyone who's doing the arena is on an equal footing. That is huge. Big salute. I'm psyched for that. Adjusted the HUD to accommodate non-16:9 resolutions. Okay. The HUD should no longer appear when triggering a player report. Okay. Fix an issue where a player who was killed mid-round and disconnected counted as 2 deaths instead of just 1. Good. Fix an issue allowing players to attack from the spectator box. That is hilarious. Thank you. Thank you, Amazon. Fix an issue causing arena furniture items to drop significantly more often than intended. I know 2 ladies that will be unhappy to know that. They want all of the furnitures. Fix an issue that allowed groups of more than 3 people to queue for the 3v3 arena game mode. What? Could we literally just show up for a 3v3 with 5 people and be like, oh, this is awkward, but we're going to have to kill you now? Wow. Okay, this is why you do PTRs. You fix shit like this, and then it doesn't make you look silly when it goes live. Good deal. Fix issues causing multiple arena consumables don't not work as intended. Again, exact same comment as above. Good. Fix it. Fix various issues causing non-arena food and consumable items to disappear when leaving the PvP arenas. Fix the typo with the arena intelligence food item description. Fix various messages that incorrectly referred to wars when trying to leave 3v3s. The arena announcer now plays correctly again. The match will now end only if one team ends up joining the match. So that will now end. The arena match will now end if only one. Okay. Yeah, it'll just be like, hey, you win by default. For wars, they fixed a bug with the turrets. The dodge mechanic that people were feeling super unhappy with. They were like, this sucks. They're saying there was actually a bug where it was doubling the amount of added penalty or whatever. So in all whatever, it's now half of as much as it was. I've heard good feedback that it's like, okay, this is a little better. We're still not sure we like this, but this is a little better. They fixed some edge cases with regard to perks and elemental attunements. Blunderbuss. I'm not going to read the 1.5 pages of stuff here, but the long and short of it is Blunderbuss got the living shit beat out of it with the Nerf bat because everybody knows people were running around with that one-shot Blunderbuss, 1 kill, like literally it's all alpha damage. You do the rotation and you kill whoever's in front of you. Now, a lot of that time after that, you're sort of left wide open that you can be killed by whoever the next guy is that comes along, but you could blow your whole load and basically kill somebody before they could respond, and that's a thing that was unfun if you were on the receiving end of that. So yeah, that's a thing. Ice Gauntlet, they they fixed an issue that caused Ice Pylon to damage all targets within range when spawned. So when you dropped it, it was like a mini AoE, and then it was doing its regular job. The Musket fixed an issue where firing inputs wouldn't buffer when entering aim-down sights with the musket or blunderbuss. Spear fixed an issue where perks that deal extra damage, i.e. Keenly Jagged and Chain, could reset the hit count for the Deadly Consistency passive. So it was accidentally doing a little stronger than it should have. Fixed to animation desync, a fix to animation desync that could occur while being hit in riposte for Rapier. I think Sword probably has some feelings on that.
Very good.
World AI added named loot tag to the following AI: Abiogenesis, Boomer, Baram, Bright-Eye, Entropy, Urza, Jackson, Carl the Overseer, Corrupted Gladiator, Yursa, Captain Luten, Silver Pellet, Snaggletooth, The Stripped Kirin, Democythe, Sidril, and Morgulf. So everybody go research where those guys are and see if you too will have a new favorite place for getting obsidian, since Ivan is overcamped as all hell.
Oh my god, yes.
Economy progression. Gear items. They removed gem sockets from invasion shields. Shields are not supposed to have gem sockets, and that brings invasion shields back in line with other shields. Fixed visual issues with the Barbarian Bruiser helmet and chest. Rewards. Updated the upgrade tooltip to list the count of how many more you'll need rather than displaying only the total count. PvP track. Fix an issue causing reward items on the PvP track to roll at lower rarities than expected. This is an effect accessories most notably. Adjusted logic for PvP kills to more accurately reflect time spent PvP flagged and available to other PvP players for PvP engagements. Adjusted the logic for PvP kills. How does the time involved change? That's interesting. I want to see.
Does it give you more XP for dropping someone who's been out doing PvP stuff for a while and racking up kills? So, like,
yeah, I mean, but that was presumably what it was already doing. So I don't know how that changes stuff. Trade skills, fishing, enable the ability to stack fishing trophies, so it's consistent with other trophies. That's weird. I didn't know that it wasn't doing that until now. As somebody with 3 fishing trophies, good to know. Thanks. Adjusting fishing trophy impact to account for the new stacking capabilities. Okay, so we're now making them less strong. All right. Fix bobber and splash visuals that were sometimes moving up onto land. All right, good fix, good fix. Quality of life. Spirit shrines will now have their correct name displayed on the respawn screen for better clarity. Cool. A reticle will appear on the map over a currently selected respawn location. Awesome. Change the sound effects for minor banners to the softer and less aggressive sound. Okay. Notable fixes to the world experience. They fixed an issue where heavy use of area of effect abilities, as in wars and outpost rush, would cause foliage on the screen to flicker. Okay. The respawn point for the tent skins has relocated from the front porch of the tent for all tent variants and tent skins. All right. Quest. They fixed a bug where if the other players log out and back in right after finishing their faction initiation quest, they might be automatically given the next MSQ quest for a different starter territory than their own. That would be hilarious. You finish your stuff, you're the highest ranked marauder, and they're like, now go help the syndicate. And you'd be like, huh? Huh?
That's weird.
And as a thing for expeditions, they fixed some collision issues with some of the stuff in Neshatoon's arena, which we've had issues in the past where you're trying to run out of a circle and you can't because like Neshatoon or something is like blocking you, and you're like, what the hell is holding me in place? I don't have a banner. I don't have a. There's nothing. What the hell? So okay. Oh, the Dawn wishes everyone to know he says hello. Well, hello to you, Controller Dawn. I hope you're having fun and safe travels back to Sweden. All right, so that's all of these patch notes. Now, again, this is the stuff that is not live. This is all the stuff that only affects the PTR right now, but these are the effects that will be reflected in the, we'll just say, May patch for now. When the May patch goes online, they have not announced it yet, but I'm going to announce it for them and tell you that it will drop on May 31st, Tuesday, May 31st. So, guys, we covered a whole hell of a lot there. I think probably the thing that people are going to find juicy is the weapon stuff. Let's hear from you. Why don't we kick it off with sword? What do you think?
Oh, I'll quickly hit the dodge, which may work into the weapon stuff. I think this is incredibly important, and I'm looking forward to seeing the change reflected in a lot of the discussions. I do think that the edge case that they were talking about, where it would reflect a full second extension, whereas they were looking for an actual half second, was the edge case that most people were using to test, which was a full dodge roll.
Mm-hmm.
That was where it was showing the most.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think this is appropriate. I actually think it will be a good way to balance the light's mobility.
I think a lot of weapons got little tweaks here and there, little, and then the blunderbuss just got the shit beat out of it with that Nerf bat. What are your thoughts on that one, Sword?
I'm still a little concerned. I don't see anything in the patch notes where it shows how it will affect the one-hit kill rotation.
I mean, when you look at a lot of the stuff, it's like this damage, reduced from here to here, this from here to here. Like, I think as an aggregate, when you take other things got like one line. Blunderbuss got like 19 lines. When you take that as an aggregate, I think that does a decent amount to bringing it. It's not going to change the rotation, i.e., you're still going to do that rotation, but it takes you from one-shot kill to one-shot. The guy's now at 18% health, and he can start his process to run away, is what I'm thinking. You think not?
I think I'll have to wait till after the patch is live and we see what's going on in OPR.
Okay. Again, I'm thinking like, wow, this is big, possibly maybe even too big, and Sword is like, give me more. Suv, what do you think of all these changes here?
I don't feel qualified to give a useful opinion really. What's been the general player sentiment?
I think so far it's been well received. If you look at the dodge thing, people were thinking was way too strong, and they're backing that down, and people are like, okay, looks good, we'll see. Blunderbuss was a concern for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people are happy to see this, but again, I think Sword sentiment is accurate of, hey, we'll see. More places to go to get Obsidian, who doesn't love that? Yeah, I think this kind of highlights the entire value of the PTR. They dropped. This is not the first time, man. They've dropped. They've done multiple patches since they started the PTR, where they start with very aggressive changes, some of which people love, and some of which people are like, "What the hell were you thinking?" And then they tune it up or tune it down based on wave after wave after wave, and we're still going to get one, potentially maybe even two more waves of adjustments where they tweak it and fiddle with it until they get it all sort of just right.
I think it's one thing to bear in mind is that the blunderbuss was always going to get loads and loads of. There's no way that it wasn't going to have paragraphs of of
changes. Yeah,
it'll be the same. It'll be the same for any other weapon when it's first introduced.
Absolutely. And I think also, let's be honest, for marketing purposes, for PR purposes, for whatever, no game whether it's Star Citizen with a new ship, or Elite Dangerous if they put one in ever with the new ship, or No Man's Sky with a new gun type, or new ship they just added in the solar ships, or World of Warcraft with a new class, or Final Fantasy with a new class, job they call it, or New World with a new weapon. No company wants to drop a weapon that's a dud. So every new weapon or new class or new job or new ship or new race car in a race car game, any new anything is always going to be maybe 5 to 20% overpowered, maybe even 30, like Star Citizen is famous for it, 30 to 40% overpowered, because they want you to plunk down hundreds of dollars to buy the new toy. And then 30 days, 60 days, whatever later comes the adjustment. This isn't even something that I am criticizing, like, hey, this is a dumb idea. Like, of course, whenever they drop the new weapon, which they did here, they dropped the blunderbuss. You had Damon Kim come back to the game to play it. You had Inbin went hard on it. You had Sephir go hard on it. You had Shroud and you know, everybody, Asmongold, everybody is like, oh, let's play with the new toy, and they go in and they play with it. And I think it's very understandable from a PR standpoint for a company to want it to be super, super powerful, let people have their fun and make their headline and make their content and get all the views and hype it up and stir the pot. And then, you know, over the next 2 to 3 to 4 months, quietly make adjustments to bring it in line with the ecosystem. I don't see where this is anything that's a new trend, and I don't see where it's anything that's not going to continue.
It's also somebody explained to me once that if you do it the other way, if you leave stuff, if you introduce stuff and it's underpowered, you create lasting sentiment. You create the impression amongst players that that what you've introduced is not interesting,
100%.
And also you create the impression that you don't really, that you're not making effective, you're not developing things effectively or usefully.
100%.
And it is much easier like in terms of perception, it's much more impactful to let things be overpowered for a little while until and then nerf them, rather than let them be introduced and get a name for being rubbish and then make them better.
Case in point, I've heard from people that I absolutely respect and trust their tastes that both Fallout 76 and Cyberpunk are now really good games. But everybody, they bombed on launch, and everybody said, fuck that, and now people don't want to go listen. They don't want to see. They don't want to open up their eyes and see that it might. Now, I got to say, I haven't played either of those, so I'm just going based on what I've heard from people. But what I've heard is they got turned around. They're really, really good, but nobody notices because everybody said, this is shit, and moved on. So, yeah, they
exactly that.
So New World, of course, they're going to want to drop weapons that are overpowered and then adjust them, bring them in balance. Of course, Star Citizen and New World Star Citizen and No Man's Sky and Elite are going to want to make ships that are overpowered and then bring them in line. That's, I think, just completely normal. Wolf, what do you think?
Go
ahead.
You only have one chance to make your first impression.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true. Yeah. Wolf, your thoughts on all of this?
So I think that the blunderbuss was definitely ripe for getting some balancing, let's call it. As soon as it got released, I mean, it's a brand new weapon. You know, they can theory craft and spreadsheet whatever, you know, on their side in development. And yeah, it was, you know, put it on the PTR, see what's going to happen. But the player base as a whole doesn't play the PTR. They just play the live game. It's a trial by fire once you put it into the ravenous and absolutely insane groups of players that we have for, hey, I'm going to find out what this new weapon is and see exactly what I can do about it. And lo and behold, you know, somebody figured out, hey, if you do this, you've got something that is ridiculous, and it drops people like nothing else, and now you just face roll in a PR. Looking at the change list for that specifically, it doesn't look like they specifically went out to address that directly. Now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff where We're going to change it so that it doesn't hit quite as hard. A couple things got delays, blah, blah, blah. I think what they're trying to do is just sort of massage into that, rather than making it super OP, still good weapon, still fun to play. You can still go out and do a whole bunch of damage with it and get your level 20 and unlock all the little buttons that you want to click. Great. But knock out the ability to just get the drop on somebody, and before they can do anything about it in OPR or in the arenas or whatever in PvP, period, that it's like push button, run macro, whatever, get kill, go on to next person. Like, it's obvious that they don't want that, and that is a very, very good thing, and I'm glad to see that they're changing it.
Good thoughts, good thoughts. All right, let's move on. The next topic, we've got the Varangian Knights. Exciting information you need to know. So here's the deal with these guys. In the May patch, that is all about 3v3 arena, 3v3 PvP, hell yeah. Man, that's awesome, and I love it, and I'm super, super psyched for everybody that's happy for that. But Amazon Game Studio is sneaking in a huge upgrade to PvE content in this patch in the form of the Varangian Knights. Now, previously, in installment 1 of the Varangian Knights stuff that came in the, January, February patch, it was like level 16 to 20 to 24-ish content. This new update is content in the 20s and 30s, and they are continuing the storyline. Now, for those who may have forgotten, basically the storyline was that there's some place north of the map, there's some kingdom north of us in Aeternum, in our area, but that we don't have unlocked yet, where there is a ruler. This ruler is something like he's like he's like the Crimson King or something like that. He's some king, and he is also a like treasure hunter for like valuable magical mystical devices and items and occult stuff and whatever. And he had been diving through archives and whatever, following around his favorite hero, which was some guy called like it was like the Red Wizard or something. That this guy, it had very much to me, it had flavors of like the Wizards of Thay in old school D&D, like these red wizards of like evil powers and whatever. And apparently there was some guy who was this evil wizard that lived hundreds or thousands or whoever knows how long ago, and he had these magical powerful devices, and apparently this king of the Varangians had some reason to believe that some of those items were in our neighborhood. And it's like, oh, there's powerful stuff that was lost down here. So he took his guys and told them all hop on boats, a la the Northmen in Game of Thrones, and come south of the wall and come searching around for these focal points of power, these super whatever, these magical Horcrux MacGuffins that are down here. And so that's who and what we're dealing with. Like I said, the first set of the content was in the 18s to 20s, and this is in the 20s to 30s. It's ramping up the story. You can go and see the story now on the PTR. I'm going to be careful not to spoil any details here with you, but I do want to give you some like further information. Number one, the quest line for the storyline for these quests, these ongoing quests, the ones that we got in January, February, the 18s to 20s, the quest line, the storyline was fucking great. It included better ways of doing the quest, i.e., you got sent on a quest, you went there, when you finished, you turned it into a guy that was hiding, 20 feet up a hill. It wasn't run all the way back to town. Number two, there were cool story hooks and stuff in there that was like, ooh, this is neat. This is No offense to the initial quest line of New World, but a lot of the initial quests,
But it was shit.
a lot of the initial quests in New World were standard MMO vanilla quests. You got the exact same thing in A Realm Reborn of Final Fantasy. You got the exact same thing in vanilla WoW. You got the exact same thing in so many other games where it's go to a town. You'll have these 5 or 6 quest types. Go kill 10 rats. Go deliver a box from A to B. Go to point A, get a thing, bring it back. It was all sort of the same, and you get the same. And this is, I think, endemic of almost every new MMO that's out there. You have a lot of sort of repeating quests and puzzles and whatever that are of kind of a one-note theme. These quests, the original Varangian Knight quests that, I went and did as a level 60, even though there were level 18, 19 quests. I didn't care, level 20, 22 quests. I didn't care. I just did it because I wanted to see what the story was and what was happening. And it was really good. I mean, obviously, it was not any challenge to me. I'm killing, dozens of level 18 guards as a level 60. That's not the point. I'm just looking at the mechanics and the story and seeing where it's going. And it was really good. This new line of quests took a huge step forward with that. There are, number one, there's a whole new big sort of fort that they have. There are very cool mechanics to some of the things in that fort where there's like trap doors where like you got to kill a guy and then you got to run your ass over there and get through the trap door within a finite period of time, because then the door will like swing closed and lock, and now you're stuck. You have to go back and reset and try to get back in again. There are a lot of new character types or NPC types. You've got the Hounds. So we've seen these before. It's basically, it's dogs. It's, just dogs. We see that all over Aeternum. No. These dogs all have haste. So as we're used to every day running from the teleport point, Lover's Shrine in Ebonscale, up to the church to go get Topaz and Obsidian, and you're used to the dogs chase you and you always leave them in the dust. Not these ones. You cannot escape these dogs. They will haste you. They will get you. There are various new enemy types of humanoids that have extra abilities just the same as players. So you have the Crushers, which are big-ass knights that have warhammers, and they'll do like multiple of like the player warhammer abilities. You've got the Spearmen, which obviously are the same as, those of us that have spears. So they'll do the sweep, they'll do the perforate, they'll do the vault kick. You've got the Mage that has abilities that you find on the Fire Staff. So what you have is better stories, really interesting quest lines. You have specific mobs that have different looks. They're not just a reskin of all the other ones. You can go right now in the live game to the level 18 to 25 camp, and you can see they've got different uniforms. They have different lines of dialogue. They have different, whatever. And these are not zombies. These are not more margles or more skeletons. These are humans. These are, people from up north who are treasure hunters who are coming here to kill anyone who gets in their way because their king said, come get our shit.
They're actually competent.
I am hugely hyped for what this means, because I think anyone who saw the previous dungeons and then compare Tempest Heart to any of the dungeons that came at launch. Tempest Heart is a vast improvement in both the mechanics, the tone, the sort of, it has an overall theme, it has neat little hooks to it, and different things that you don't have in the other dungeons. If you look at the quests that are coming here with these new quest lines as they go forward, again, you're seeing more care and attention. You're seeing them upping their game. This is not just a reprint of the same missions you've done in 5 other zones. This is new shit that's done better. I am hugely excited for what this means for ongoing PvE content. In the month of May, they've managed to not only give us a vast leap forward in PvP that everyone is touting, but a vast leap forward in PvE that no one has noticed. Let's go around the horn and see what you guys think. Souv?
I think they're getting much better at PvE. I think when the game launched, I think anybody who is familiar with the development of New World, and I've followed it for a couple of years now, will probably be aware that the game was ideated as a full loot PvP game, and PvE was added relatively late in the piece after the first alpha, after the developers decided that a strictly full loot PvP only experience would be too niche. And most of the PvE in the first iteration of the game was added pretty late, and it showed. It was incredibly weak. The quests were structurally nearly identical to each other. They were either kill X lads, hold E against X number of things, and the writing was. I remember saying to Kai that when Kai first asked me if I was interested in New World, I remember saying that I thought the writing looked pretty forgettable, and it was one of the only. I was very excited for the game, but I remember saying that the writing didn't excite me and it didn't look particularly interesting, and particularly the faction system. It felt like it reminded me of the green and purple sketch from Babylon 5. Just splitting people into 3 different tribes for absolutely no purpose and with no narrative imperative whatsoever. And I think that what they've done more recently has been much better. Tempest Heart was brilliant. The fact that the expedition is strewn with a journal that fleshes out Isabella as a more sympathetic character is really clever. In general, the PvE setup appears to be becoming more complex. They're introducing new factions with their own motivations, setting up lots and lots of different groups that have asymmetric goals that are usually mutually incompatible. Makes for a much more kind of nuanced landscape. And I think that the New World is going to. It looks like it's maturing into a really good mix of interesting, varied PvP and satisfying PvE.
Nice. Wolf, what do you think?
I think that the whole change where they're trying to add some dynamicism and whatnot to the missions to avoid that repetitiveness is an absolute wonderstroke of genius, and whoever had the idea and actually got it pushed through to, hey, let's make these things not so cookie cutter, make them do different things, make them go to different places, blah blah blah. Like, buy that person a beer. Like, that's fantastic, because you can get into a rut very easily if you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's not fun. Add some dynamicism, make you look at different things, make you deal with different stuffs, make you walk different places. You know, who cares which way they decide to actually do which change for what thing? Like, there's so many awesome things to go see and do, and you know, that was my biggest. What's in Aeternum? What can you go do? What is there to see? Was running around doing those missions before we had all the fast travel stuff in place, which is why I kind of lament the change of you can just bounce around all over the place, because if you just do that, you're going to miss out on a lot. And I think that, you know, hey, we need you to go from here to here, and if there's nowhere nearby that's a really good place to jump home or to an inn and then teleport into the nearest travel location, like, that's awesome. It's going to show off the world. It's going to do different things. It's going to engage the players in different ways.
Buy that person a beer? No. Buy that person a house. Sword, what do you think?
On a completely separate area, I would love to see some more competent enemies. I think the only competent enemy faction we have that's a conscious and planning faction, if you can look at the lore of the game, is the Corrupted, and even then they're kind of brute force and insidious rather than planning and tactile. It's kind of the same line you bring back from the original trilogy of Star Wars to the sequel trilogy. One of the things that that makes a sequel trilogy less interesting is the fact that the First Order appears to be run by nincompoops. It would be nice to have a faction that we can actually feel like, these guys are competent. They're difficult to take down, and I just did it.
God damn, Sword. Nincompoops, watch your fucking mouth. You're going to get us demonetized. All right. I dig it. I dig it. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I get that. I think I agree with that. Just chipping in because I think that's a really good point. I do think that the Lost in particular are. It does feel a little bit like the factions in New World are much less effective than players are. I would really like to see, as an aside, I would really like to see the factions in New World fighting each other sometimes. I'd like to have Radiant events like stumbling across a group of Angry Earth fighting a group of Corrupted and that sort of thing, just to make it look like they do more than just wander on patrol routes, if that makes sense.
So yeah, in the lore, as you go through the quest line, there is specifically a thing where you've got the Angry Earth, and you've got sort of in conflict with the what are they called, the cursed ones, the red what are they called, the corrupted. There, and the Corrupted basically had turned some of the Angry Earth to their side, and that's how you get the Blighted. You get these weird sort of whatever that the Blighted are Angry Earth that the Angry Earth don't like. And I agree with you. I would love to see it reflected more in lore stuff, and have actual locations and set pieces where you come across where you actually see these guys battling each other. That would be be awesome. That would be very, very awesome.
There's loads of references to it in the fiction as well. There's one of the Restless Shores quest lines is about two different groups of Lost who fight each other, but obviously that doesn't exist. That doesn't happen. That's literally just lines of text. There's no that's not borne out in the world at all. Mechanically, the game is built in so that there are actually only two factions. There's NPCs, which are hostile to the player on site, and there's players. Lots of games are built with different factions that some of them you can join, some of them you can't. Some of them the game in question doesn't even publish as being factions, and it is perfectly possible to design a game so that factions can interact with each other and be hostile to each other and all that sort of thing. I think it would add a huge amount of immersion to New World and make it feel a much more living place if you did see factions interacting with each other a bit. Just seeing a bear hunting a rabbit or something, or seeing a tiger hunting a deer, or seeing Angry Earth fighting, I don't know, Lost somewhere. Just seeing little interactions like that, it would be very cool.
We literally
just stole my kill.
We literally had Brittany earlier today, excitedly shout out because she witnessed predation in No Man's Sky. So there was a predator creature that just randomly attacked an herbivore creature, and she was like, holy shit. And it's true, when you see stuff like that, it adds a whole nother layer to the tapestry. All right,
really cool.
Next up, we've got PvP only perks. So for those of you not keeping score at home, or maybe haven't seen, there is some stuff on the PTR. There are some new perks that are specifically, and they're marked this way on the weapon, PvP only. These perks will not do anything unless it's against another player in PvP. So you've got things like penetrating backstab, which means that your backstab penetrates 10% of a player's armor. Penetrating headshot. Headshots penetrate 7% of player's armor. Fractured rend. When block breaking a player, inflict rend, reducing damage absorption by 12% for 4 seconds. Purifying crits. Critical hits against players remove 1 buff from the target. That one could potentially be big. Everything that I've read thus far seems very underwhelming to me. That one, depending on what buffs are and are not allowed there, wow, that could be a big thing. Exhausted Exploitation. PvP only. Hits against exhausted players inflict slow, reducing movement speed by 15% for 4 seconds. I don't like this one because you literally, this is a perk that you take that you can't really decide to use. The other guy has to screw up and get to exhausted before you can use it. Alacritus Punishment, PvP only, deals 8% additional damage to players with haste. Again, you don't get to use this. This is only if the other guy uses haste, then it does something. And when's the last time you saw players using haste in most PvP?
It just means that it's situational.
Super situational.
You're basically and yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with a perk being passive, and I don't think there's anything wrong with something being situational either.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go through the rest of the list, then we're gonna discuss these. Sturdy Fortification, blocking player attacks added a stack of 4% fortify for 5 seconds on self for each blocked hit, max 5 stacks. That one situationally could be decent. Shirking Heals. Successfully dodging an attack heals 100 health, plus 1% of max HP. So each armor piece with this perk adds stacks, can only trigger once every 5 seconds. Siege Ward, Siege Ward, PvP only, receives 6% less damage from siege weapons. Absolute trash. That has no viable purpose, even in wars. Just no. Mortal Empowerment, PvP only. Player kills grant a persistent 2% damage bonus that lasts until downed, death, or game mode transitions. During refreshes on reapplication, stacks up to 15 times. This effect cannot be cleansed. Now, let me tell you something. This effect, this perk is absolute dog shit for 3v3. But in Outpost Rush, in a war, if you're one of those already super sweaty top of the line players and you get 15 stacks of this 2%, you get a 30% buff to all damage until someone finally takes you out. We all know some players, we all know some players in Outpost Rush that literally 8 guys are on them and they're just giggling and running in circles and they cannot be killed. This right here, that just made the 1% even more obnoxious. PvP Invigorated Punishment, PvP only. Abilities deal 3% bonus damage per buff on a player, maximum 8 buffs. That could be decent, specifically in the meta of most of the time healers have a lot of buffs on them. That could be, it's situational, but it could be decent. Shirking Empower, PvP only. On successfully dodging an attack, not just dodging an attack, you obtain Empower, increasing damage dealt by 4% for 10 seconds. Duration refreshes when a new stack is applied, stacks up to 4 times. So 16% total Empower at the absolute cap for 10 seconds. So I'll be honest with you. Most of the perks that I read out, the backstab penetration, the headshot penetration, the if your opponent has haste, most of this stuff has already been completely panned by the PvP community, who said, why the fuck would we want that? Even just the regular, like Keen, Vicious, these are already better than these quote-unquote perks, and they work on everything, including PvP and PvE. That's their PvX. 90%, not 90%, I would say of these like 16 to 18 perks or whatever, 15 of them, everybody said, I would never want that. And then 3 of them, everybody said, ooh, I want to see how that works. That looks interesting. So here's the thing. And I want to discuss this, not just looking, I want to discuss this in 2 ways. Number 1, just the perks themselves. What do people think? But number 2, how do you feel about the idea of Amazon adding in these PvP perks? A lot of players, a lot of content creators, including, for example, New World to Go, BDLG and Bordy, have gone on record say they do not like this. They do not like this from the and their viewpoint is that Amazon has stated that they want PvE and PvP content to not only coexist, but to complement each other. And this seems to them to be more of a delineation of separating your PvP players from your PvE players. I'm going to share my thoughts first and then roll around to all of you guys. I honestly disagree with them, and I have massive respect for both Bordy and BDLG. I love New World to Go. I never miss an episode. I have massive, massive respect for them. But I disagree on this issue. I don't think that having perks that separate out between PvP and PvE, and having gear even, let's be honest, we already have gear sets that are focused PvP gear sets and PvE gear sets. This is just taking it a step further, and I say that this isn't a good thing or a bad thing. This is a thing that could go either way depending on how it's used. For my purposes, for my thoughts, the bad of it is their argument that it delineates PvP and PvE players and it separates those two buckets even further. The good part of it that I see potentially is this allows for them to make big buffs and nerfs to things on the PvP side so that they could better balance PvP play only as it goes forward without screwing up the PvE content, and vice versa. They can make big PvE buffs if they feel the need without unbalancing PvP. Case in point, early on they made a big nerf to healers, and that nerf to healers was all centered around the fact that healers were too strong in PvP, but the PvE community was up in arms because that greatly nerfed healers' ability to do their job in dungeons. So for me personally, I'm okay going down this road. But the one warning that I would give, the one caveat I would give is this highlights more than ever the need for Amazon to get on it and get out those gear sets. They've already said they know they need to give us loadouts, gear sets, whatever you want to call it. Adding more gear that delineates that you have to carry for separate purposes just highlights and exacerbates the frustration of people who are now carrying around even more gear sets and have no way to have them one-click loadout swapped. Let's start with Wolf on this one. He went last, I think, for the last two. Wolf, what are your thoughts on these specific perks and the larger question of PvP only perks? And then we'll throw it to Suv, and then we'll throw it to Sword to close it out.
So I want to start with the PvP only perks. I like the idea of having stuff that is only for PvP that this stuff happens. The idea behind that being, you know, it allows for a nice delineation between PvE and PvP, a la the thing with nerfing the healers and making dungeon running a lot more difficult at times when it used to be super not sweaty for them. Yeah, everybody, you know, you burn out healers. The healers get abused. Make their lives easier. Come on. In like Outpost Rush, for example, back before the change, you would have just like, here's a team of healers setting up a green bubble line, and then it became just an absolute ridiculous battle of attrition where people would just get bored and stop doing it. In a few of the matches that I was in, I like delineating it. Some of them where it's, you know, it only does this when somebody does this, whether or not they're the ones that actually do the dodge. You know, of course they're the ones doing the dodge, but, you know, putting haste on them, like you can get haste put on you by other people doing things. I don't know if I quite rightly agree with that or not. You'd have to see how that really pans out. A lot of it seems like kind of meh. Others of it could seem like, all right. The one that really bothers me is that 2% stackable 15 times to your damage that it doesn't go away until you're down. Like, how do I say this nicely? Fuck it, I'm not going to say it nicely. Why are you rewarding the most toxic people in the fucking game?
Are they toxic because they're particularly good at PvP?
Yes.
Yeah, the thing that I've run across is the only toxicity that I have run across in New World is in PvP amongst those groups of players, and it's not all of them, of course. It's a gross overgeneralization, but that's where it is, where their thing is to just go and face roll people in PvP content, and to somebody who doesn't have the gear for it, who doesn't have the experience in PvP engagements to learn tactics and strategies and what style of fighting fits them and how to counter things, like it creates a learning just sheer cliff, and that's no fun to people. And all of a sudden you're going to have somebody who runs around and permanently has 30% more damage to wreck your face with. Yeah, no, you're going to drive people away from doing the PvP content again, which they had a fix in OPR where they made OPR a lot more fun, and then people went back to it because it was a lot more fun. This is going to take away the fun from the majority of the people.
I would say I get where you're coming from, 100% Wolf, I do. I would say, though, that taken in a vacuum, your statement is accurate. However, if they continue, they've been talking about doing, more matchmaking stuff and this, that, and the other. If we get cross-realm, and if we get MMR ranks, and if we get into a position where the sharks are all in the pool with other sharks and the guppies are in the pool with other guppies, that sort of alleviates a lot of that.
100% agree. 100% agree. We don't have that right now, so that is my biggest concern. They put that in, my concern evaporates.
Fair. So, Suv, you're next. Your thoughts on these perks in particular and the greater scope of the idea, the concept of PvP only perks added to New World.
I won't add a lot of value by getting into the weeds on it because I don't know enough about it. I think I don't think it's beyond the wit of man to people even to weight it so that you don't reward seal clubbing. I don't see why you should reward players for killing players who are 10 or 20 levels below them. You shouldn't reward that. I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with rewarding kill streaks. I don't know that like we routinely cement reinforce success in video games. I don't think there's anything intrinsically wrong with that as a concept. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm generally my default position is skepticism when anybody starts warbling about one group being left out at the expense of another group, because in video games most of the time things are not zero sum. Something to one group doesn't take something away from another group.
I get it.
And players like to act like that it is, but in my experience of playing online games, usually things are not zero sum. And usually giving something to one group affects the other group in a material way, not at all. They just think it does.
Fair.
But yeah, I'll be interested to follow this one.
So I noticed that you did sort of make a when I made the comment about this exacerbates the problem of needing loadouts and whatever. Do you have anything on that?
I think I really want to see loadouts added to the game. It's a quality of life. I said because it reminded me that I wanted them, not because I have anything interesting to say about it. I would just really like Amazon to add loadouts, savable loadouts that I could equip with a button.
I endorse this message. Sword, your thoughts on all of it?
Yeah, exactly that.
So on the perks themselves, and I'll touch on the PvP only side in a second, but the perks themselves, I think most of them, the vast majority, has already been said, are so conditional as to likely be null for general use. And, well, not general use, for general PvP use. My main concern, and this will play off something Wolf already said, is some background quickly, one of the most infuriating things in video games in general, but especially PvP content in games, is when you get killed and you don't know why. So I'll bring this back to something we've been talking about earlier. When I was first killed by that blunderbuss rotation, I got pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be surprised to hear that anybody else in here didn't get the same reaction when you get run up by somebody and they wiped you.
Okay.
And I definitely, well,
Twice
I
it.
don't mind the PvP only perks. I definitely think we're moving more towards these are obscure perks. And this 30% in power, this is just going to go towards increasing these very capable players. They're more capable, and it's going to be harder for people to figure out how the hell did he kill me?
This is so interesting because honestly, of all of the perks that I read, as I said, there's what, 20 perks. 18 of them 18 of them are not as good even for PvP only as other perks you can get right now, and the entire PvP community has gone, yeah, no thanks, I'm good, I'll pass. 3 of them, no, I'll be more accurate. 2 of them are conditionally good, and the PvP community has said, ooh, I want to play with this and see what it does. And then there's the last one, the one that you hit on, the one that Wolf hit on, the one that I hit on. It is, without question, it's almost like it was thrown in there just so we would all write about it, talk about it. This is the one where if you were to just take away the entire stack and just leave that one thing on there, you are going to, the reaction to that one thing is going to tell everyone in the world whether you are the shark or the guppy. Because all of the sharks said, oh, fuck yes. And all of the guppies said, the sky is falling. And I get it on both sides. They're both right. This one is so fucking huge that it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder what the guys who, like, if you come into the Monday meeting and it's like, all right, everybody bring one idea for what we're going to do for PvP only perks. Fred came in with this one, and as soon as he said it, everybody else started mumbling under their breath because they're like, oh, mine's shit. Like, this is the one. This is the one. No question. So we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. With regard to, I want to, Sword, you forgot to hop in and give your overall thoughts on to the whole concept of PvP only perks and how you feel. Is this a good idea? Are you for it? Are you against it?
I think they're testing the waters for more to come because there is a major movement on discussion boards and forums to completely separate out the characteristics of perks, weapons, healing, regen between the PvP and PvE areas. And on top of that, open up PvP only servers where they could balance more in tune there for the open world. And I think this might be their way to start to test the waters to see what players' reaction is to this division.
And
as you mentioned earlier, the healer situation.
I'll be honest with you. And this, again, this is why, as much as, and I'm not dunking on New World to Go, I love Bordy, I love BDLG, I have nothing but respect for both of them. And I think that the thing that they mentioned about this segregating out those two groups is absolutely a valid and viable concern. But I feel like, to me, it's outweighed by the positives. Like, they're saying, hey, man, you're separating out PvP and PvE. And I'm saying, yeah, but they're separating out PvP and PvE. Like, I see what you're saying, but I think that the chances for being able to make meaningful, balanced choices on two separate tracks without worrying about accidentally blowing up the other track has merit, and at least should be considered.
Right.
All right, moving along. Next topic. Loot Twitch drops to celebrate the arena kickoff and devs versus content creator streams. In the show notes and in the whatchamacallit right now, I just posted in the live stream, I posted the link. Here is the asset for that. All right. Twitch drops. Devs versus content creators PvP chest. Combatants supply chest is the name of it. Watch 4 hours between May 12th at 8 a.m. Spoiler alert, that was a couple days ago. PST, 3 p.m. UTC, and May 14th, which was yesterday, 11 a.m. PST to 6 p.m. UTC, to unlock the Combatants Supply Chest. Each Combatant Supply Chest contains a collection of items to enhance your PvP experience in our upcoming Arenas 3v3 launch, including Azos Salt Vials, PvP equipment pieces, health pots, endurance pots, homing stones, they say homing, but they mean honing stones. Wow, there's a gemstone dust, and oak flesh bombs. So, couple of things here right off the bat. Why am I telling you about a thing that's already happened and is done? Because they're going to be doing it for several more rounds. This is this one. There's going to be one coming up in a couple of days and another in a couple of days. Keep track of their Twitter and watch for announcements. Or just join the Black Sky Legion Discord, because you know, we announce it there. Hey, there's one up. Go get it now. I went. I got mine. Couple of things about this. Obviously, this was a thing that kind of happened on the fly, and this doesn't even reflect some changes. So they're saying this is stuff you're going to use in PvP 3v3 arena. Includes Azol Salt. Okay, that's the new money. That's the new what the hell is the term for money?
Currency.
Currency. Thank you. I'm an idiot. This is the new PvP currency that you will buy things with as you track up. PvP equipment pieces. These are going to be pieces that include, presumably, some of those either more, just in general, more PvP used sort of stuff like keen, vicious, invigorated, etc., etc. But also some of those PvP only perks that we just discussed. Then they say health pots. Nope, that's no longer involved because they have a new system for that, as we reported last week. Endurance pots. Nope, that's no longer involved. New system we talked about last week. Homing stones, which I can only assume they mean honing stones, which we just reported to you this week. That's also on the list that, like, no, you don't bring those in. Those are from whatever. Gem dust and oak flesh bombs. These are not officially listed anywhere as whatever, but I very much hope, and based on what we're seeing, the changes and concessions they're making, I very much hope that those will not at all be useful in PvP, either because they bring it into their system of, we give you one at the beginning of the match, you can use it whenever the cooldown for it is up, or they just say, we're blocking it, you can't bring that in. Either which way they choose, I would be very happy. But I think just let's make PvP arena matches even. Don't make it to where I can bring in and spend $800 on a match so that I have the best of stuff, and therefore I have a massive advantage over you. Let's just make this casual. Not casual from the sense of you don't try hard. People are going to be sweaty as shit and try super hard. But let's make this 100% fair coming in. You're going at this from an even playing field with what you bring to the table in skill, not what you bring with, you know, money or whatever. Yeah, so let's go around the horn. Let's start with Sword. What do you think of this one?
I know people have talked about the Twitch drops as potentially watch to win. I don't think that's important. You're getting 3 extra rolls, I think, in total. Over, I'm not even sure how many of these caches you'll need to get throughout the entire run of the PvP reward track. From my perspective, I don't care about random rolls. Sure, they can be brilliant. 0.001% of the time. The rest of the time, I'm just going to be looking for actual consistent drops.
Yeah, I looked at this. I know what you're talking about. You're talking about that J Oddity guy made a thing of like, is this pay to win or not pay to win? Is this like An unfair
Watch to win.
out of game advantage. Shut up, dude. It's a stupid fucking chest.
Shut up.
You can do a PvP match in 3 fucking minutes. Who gives a shit? You'll get a ton of these chests. What this was is, number one, hey, let's give you some hype and make you come look at our thing to hype our thing. And number two, a drug dealer model of, hey, the first taste is free. You want more? Come in and do PvP. Come in and try the arena. Anyone who wants to make a fucking mountain out of this molehill is a fucking idiot and needs to just get a life.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree.
What do you think about the whole thing? Did you get to see any of the matches of the devs versus the content creators? There were some good, fun shows there, man. There were some good games.
I saw, I think, 1 and 1.5 matches. I kind of want to get in myself before I judge how they're doing.
I mean, let's be honest. There's no circumstance where devs are going to be as good at playing their own game as the gamers who play the game for a living, because gamers who competitively play games are good at them, and devs are old farts who make games. If you were really the best at playing the game, you would be spending too much time doing that, not enough time making games. So for me, whenever you see content creators wipe the floor with devs, I'm not dunking on the devs. I'm not shitting on the devs. I'm not laughing at them. I'm like, hey, good sports. You went out there. You had fun. You had a few laughs. You got a little PR for your shit. Good for you. I salute the fact that they had the balls to do it. There's plenty of other games where their community managers and whatnot would, I guarantee you, not want to be in a high stakes whatever, like we're gonna put this up there and watch how we do, because they would get destroyed.
Let's just say I far prefer the old TF2 charity streams, where bringing a dev in on the team might have actually been an advantage because they're bringing their cheat codes.
Wow. Souv, do you have anything to add to cheat codes?
No, I don't. I can't add any value here, sadly.
I think you based on, again, hearing you as I was talking, I think I heard a testify, brother, but the British version. You were kind of more or less saying that anybody who wanted to make a piss and moan out of this is a fucking idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a complete fucking idiot. Like people, most things don't really matter. Like it's it's just nonsense. It's people cynically trying to get clicks.
Wolf.
My biggest takeaway from watching people react to the whole, here's what's going to be in these boxes, blah, blah, blah. Is this going to... God, it's RNGesus, for fuck's sake. I alone have a horrifically bad relationship with RNGesus here. Like, you're not ever not going to get a just absolutely godlike piece of, and now I am untouchable, worship before my feet. Like, no, it's gonna be the same thing we get from any of the roles. It's like it might have one perk that's decent and the rest are dog shit. Like, it's not a watch to win thing. It's just a watch to see something neat and then move on and
here's
do whatever.
And here's a little parting gift. Enjoy. Go.
Yeah,
and also, who gives a fuck?
Yep.
Who gives a fuck? I could log on and play. I could log on and play for 2 hours, and I could get a really great drop and get a really, really great piece of loot, and then I could go into OPR or something, and I could wipe the floor with you, and it could be in part because of that great bit of loot I got. Who the fuck cares whether I got that from playing for a couple of hours when you happen to be at work, or whether I got that from watching a Twitch stream? Who the fuck cares? Like, get a life, people. Like, oh my god.
It's even more insidious than that, because you're absolutely right in your statement, Suv, except for one thing. There's one thing that you got wrong, and that actually argues even more in favor of your point, which is this. In PvE, if you get a great piece of gear, you can pretty predictably count on it meaning a lot. In PvP, I give no fucks how good your gear is. I give no fucks.
Is waging a one-man war against everyone's ears.
Correct.
That's what we should call. We should call the podcast PV Ear.
There you go. In PvP, I give no fucks how good a piece of loot you get. PvP, is
Should be about skill.
10 times more about skill than it is your gear. You can
100%.
literally go online and you can see pictures of what's that guy that he was the #1 ranked PvP player in all of WoW, and he came over and he does some New World stuff now that I forget his name, but anyways, he puts up videos of him naked, no armor, doing duels with people and winning. Like, PvP is so much more about the difference of skill between the two players than it is about the gear. Yes, granted, if you have two players that have the exact same skill set, the person with the better gear will win. But the fact of the matter is if you're some random dude who sucks at PvP and came to watch a stream and won the fucking lottery and got the Sword of Truth, you're still gonna suck at PvP. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Moving on to the last topic because we're closing this show out. Is New World dead? Well, okay. The answer, short version, no, it's not. Let's look at number 1, Amazon's MO here. Well, Sword, you're miking. Whatever you're doing some kind of thing and you're counting to yourself and we're doing a show. So with regard to Amazon's MO here, Amazon came into the world as, here's a place that sells books, and they sold books at a massive loss until they got all of the market share and sold all of the books. Then they got into other stuff and they kept putting shit on there at a loss. They lost money and kept getting market share and getting market share and getting market share and growing. Now, I will grant you, Amazon Game Studio had some high-profile failures with regard to early projects that were pulled back, reworked, whatever, canceled, etc. But that does not include New World. New World was launched as a massive success. It has an install base of like 15 million people who spent the $30 to $40, depending on the version they got, to get the game. This game has made money. They are committed to it. They have shown how committed to it they are with the roadmap that they put out, which, in case anybody forgets, is on the screen now for you to see. That tells you the stuff that's coming out in the spring, the stuff that's coming out in the summer, and the stuff that's coming out in the autumn. We got Tempest Heart on schedule. We got the Blunderbuss as promised. They're doing the PvP and PTR right now, and the reward track, we already know those are out in May. In the summer, we're getting a new dungeon, the Expedition Group Finder, and a summer event. And they said this is going to be a big summer event, a la the type of this event that they did for Christmas, that was a thing that went on for like a month and a half and had so many facets to it. I am super excited to see how that goes. Also, I'm super excited for a zombie pirate fucking dungeon. That's going to be cool. And then in the fall, or as British people say, autumn, you've got Brimstone Stands, the new territory that's coming out. The Aeneid Expedition. Now, is that Aeneid is that the Aeneid that I'm thinking of? Like wasn't it the Aeneid? The Aeneid was an old Greek Aeneid, whatever.
Iliad.
No, there was the Odyssey and the Iliad, but there was also the Aeneid, which was the story of, wasn't that the one where there was the group of Greek guys that got caught behind enemy lines and they had to come all the way back across all of the Persians to get back to Greece? Wasn't that the one about this? Whatever.
You're talking about the book written by Virgil back at the turn of the BC AD, whatever the hell we call it now for political correctness thing.
Okay.
When we stopped counting down and started counting up, just right around then.
That's like a tangent on a tangent on a tangent. So okay, coming back, we've got the new weapon, the Greatsword, the leaderboards, the Night Vale Hollow event, which is basically Halloween event, and Turkulon 2022, the return.
I'm so excited for that.
They have shown a detailed list. So many games, the players are going like, give us a fucking roadmap. Show us for real what's coming. These guys have done it, and they're getting, like, people are like, lol, dead game, whatever. On top of that,
the roadmap is meaningful and useful as well. Like one, they're
details.
sticking to it, but two, yeah, it's detailed, and there's actually stuff on it. There's stuff, there's content, there's new content and exciting things on it.
Hell yeah. In addition to that, AGS has a list of job openings, and they just put out an actual video, like a polished, like, high quality video of, like, come join AGS, come work on this, we're doing this, and we're doing it. Like, you don't do that for a dead game. Okay? And in addition to that, as I said, that massive 15 million player install base, they can be pulled back for free with all this new stuff. I think you're going to see a ton of people come back to try the Great Sword. They're going to want to run around. We're going to see a billion different Conans running around. I think we're going to see when the new zone drops and you've got, Egyptian ruins in the middle of the desert with Egyptian and big beetles and fuck off mummies and a bunch of Roman legion soldiers running around. People are going to come back for that because it costs them nothing. And in May, at the end of May, so really in June, because it drops the last week of May. So in June, I think we're going to see a huge influx of numbers of PvP players coming back when that 3v3 arenas launch. All of these people are going to come in, see the game, see for the first time the big changes that have happened. And I think if you look at the amount of changes from pre-January and the February patch, where it was, a lot of stuff was a ball ache, a lot of stuff was difficult to do, traveling was difficult to do, inventory management was difficult, everything was expensive for Azoth. It was just so hard on so many different levels. And then they come in now and they see, oh wait, I get like double the XP for every mission when I'm leveling up, and I can teleport everywhere more or less for free, and organizing my stuff is not a ball ache, and they fixed so many of the bugs, and on and on and on. That 15 million player install base is a huge asset, even if there's not a lot playing right now, because all you got to do is hook them with one thing. They come in, they see it, and they tell a friend, and it just starts to catch and grow and grow. I think New World's already hit rock bottom. I think rock bottom for New World was January, February. In March, we're on our way up. April, going up. May, I think from this point on, it's going to be a slow and steady crawl in the right direction. And maybe that slow and steady gets a couple of explosions along the way when the new zone comes out, when the new weapon comes out, maybe when the PvP stuff comes out next month. But it's going to, I think, keep moving in the right direction. These guys have shown us what's coming. These guys are getting more people on the team and moving. These guys, I like everything that I'm seeing, and so when I hear, oh, that game's dead, I immediately ask, oh, when was the last time you played? And you hear from people like, oh, the last time I played was like, I quit that game last summer. Or not last summer. I quit that game, November. I quit that game before Christmas. It's like, okay. I can see then why a lot of your criticism would be valid. And if I was asking you to judge the game last December, that would be something, but I'm talking about the game now. All right, let's start with Wolf. Your thoughts on this one?
The game is not dead. Like there's no other simpler way to put it. We've got new stuff coming down the pipe. We've had quality of life changes to make the things that suck either not suck at all or suck less. All in all, the game's become a lot more intuitive to play with a lot of things. A lot of the weirdness is gone. Sure, whenever they introduce stuff, there's going to be weirdness, but hey, that's the dims to breaks. The idea that the game is dead is just a farce. on its face. Like, I don't care what town I go into. Any of them, all of them. There's people there doing stuff, going in and out of the gates, going out to the country city, go gather or go, do whatever missions. Like, if the game was dead, I would not be seeing people with, like, I can go run around from one town to another out in the middle of nowhere. About half my trips, I'm going to come across somebody who's there. Like, how much more alive would you like this game to be?
Good points. Sword?
I'll just say this, and you mentioned this earlier on. I'm sorry for counting on your show, but I started running from one side of Windsor to the other. I stopped counting players at 100.
Right.
That's what he was doing.
That makes sense. All right. Sword? All right, sorry. Suv?
Yeah, it's definitely not dead. It's a stupid thing to say. I think that a new zone will definitely a lot of people back. It's really interesting me watching other games because it interests me what brings players back, and things like new ships in space games seem to bring players back in big waves, and I think a new zone in New World will probably bring a lot of players back. I think it would help if the problem with games gradually improving over time is that it's not an event, it's a process, and you can't making videos or writing articles about processes is less interesting than covering events. And a headline like New World has gradually been improving for the last 6 months and is definitely worth your time again is not going to be as interesting as something that's sensationalists talking about, like how terrible something is, or querying whether it's on the way out or whatever. And it would be quite nice if it would be. I think New World is probably overdue a bit of a revisionist look from some of the gaming press to just ask the question of, hey, how is this now? What is the experience of playing this game like? Like, what's the end game like? What's the quality of life like? All that sort of thing, because it's changed a lot in the time that I spent away from the game. It changed a lot, and it's changed since then as well. So since I came back as well. So yeah,
okay.
It's definitely not dead.
Good deal. Good deal. All right, guys, we've given you a meaty hour and 45 minutes. I think this was an hour-long show that ran a little long. Oh my God, that's never happened before. Anything you guys want to say to the beautiful people before we head on out? Wolf, you got anything?
Not from me.
All right.
No, not really. I mean, everything's looking on the up and up, and come join the Pluto server. Pick green. Join us. We'll happily bring you into the fold and just have fun doing whatever, even if it's just sheer shenanigans, because we've been known to do that from time to time.
North America East, Pluto server. We have people that play from Europe with us. We have people that play from Asia with us. It works. Come and join us. North America East, Pluto. Join the Marauders and look for Black Sky Legion. Come and join. Sword?
The fun game. We're looking at some exciting updates coming up. Come join us.
Hell yeah. And we have got a very meaty show for you next week. I cannot wait. Gonna give you just a teeny tiny teaser. Make sure you're here next week. We're going to be talking about the progression models in MMOs between vertical and horizontal progression. We're going to be talking about what New World should do going forward, a vertical model, a horizontal model, what ways they can make things even better for the entirety of the player base. Look forward to see you next week. And with that, we're out. Ciao.